Emily was scrolling through Facebook on a quiet Tuesday evening when a photo stopped her cold.
That's Henry. That's Grandma Catherine's golden retriever. How is he in a kill shelter 200 miles away?
She grabbed her phone and dialed the number from the post with trembling fingers.
Is this the Willow Ridge Animal Shelter? I saw a post about a golden retriever. An older dog.
Yes, ma'am. He was surrendered this morning. A couple left him. Sounded like they didn't want him anymore.
Who brought him in? Please, the names on the intake form.
Frank and Margaret. They said he was a stray, but he had a collar with his name on it when they handed him over.
My parents. They threw Henry away.
She didn't need to know more. She threw on her coat and grabbed her keys. 200 miles. A storm was moving in, but she was already gone. 6 weeks earlier, the air still smelled of lilies from Catherine's funeral. The family gathered in a mahogany-paneled lawyer's office for the reading of the will. The lawyer read aloud, "I leave the majority of my estate, $2.4 million, in a trust for the care of my dog Henry. The residual to my granddaughter Emily."
A trust for Henry? Grandma always promised she'd protect him, but this is beyond anything I imagined.
This is outrageous. That money belongs to us, not some animal.
Catherine was senile at the end. We'll have this trust shredded before the ink is dry.
And Emily's residual? She can have whatever crumbs are left after we fix this mess.
They never visited her, never called. Now all they see is a dollar sign.
Margaret and Frank shoved back their chairs and stormed out, already whispering about hired lawyers. Emily sat alone, holding the trust document, the weight of her grandmother's final intention pressing down on her. Within a week, Margaret and Frank sat across from a trust attorney who specialized in breaking airtight estates.
We want that trust dissolved. $2.4 million for a dog is obscene.
An animal can't own property. Tell us there's a loophole.
The lawyer outlined a strategy: paint the trust as unreasonable, then petition for family stewardship.
And we get rid of the dog first. That simplifies everything.
Drop him at a shelter. Say he strayed. No one will look twice.
That evening, in their own living room, they rehearsed the plan with colder precision.
We file the petition, get the court order, then drop Henry the same day.
Emily will be devastated, but she's always been too soft. She'll cave.
By Friday, the petition contesting the trust was filed, and a hearing date set. Emily remained in the dark. The probate hearing was brief and cold. Emily never received notice. Judge Marlene listened as the parents' attorney dismantled Catherine's deepest wish.
Your Honor, my mother was not in her right mind. This trust is a mockery of our family's needs.
The law is clear that an animal cannot be a beneficiary. I see no alternative but to redirect the funds.
She ordered $1.9 million released to Margaret and Frank. The trust was dissolved. They drove straight to Willow Ridge Animal Shelter, Henry in the back seat.
We found him wandering the highway. No tags. He's a stray.
Sir, this collar has a nameplate. It says Henry.
Must have been someone else's. We just want it gone. Euthanize if you have to.
Kara watched them leave, then led the gentle old dog to a concrete kennel. He was safe no longer. She found him 3 kennels down, curled on bare concrete, his eyes dull and distant.
Henry. Oh, baby, I'm here. I'm right here.
That couple who brought him in, they lied about him being a stray. The man told us to kill him. I was about to post his picture when you called. I think he knew something was wrong.
Emily paid the release fee without a second glance at the total. Nothing mattered except getting him out. She clipped on his old leash, still bearing the tag Catherine had engraved years ago, and led him to the car.
He climbed in and curled up, tail thumping once, as if he'd been waiting for her all along.
While rain hammered the roof, she pulled the trust document from her bag, the same one she'd kept since the will reading. Her thumb traced a clause her parents had never mentioned. Co-exature appointment, Dr. Stephen, veterinarian.
Dr. Stephen. He's the vet. He must have known something. I need to call him.
The clinic lights were still on when Emily pulled into the empty lot. Henry's breath fogging the window.
Emily, come in. Come in. Is Henry all right? I hadn't heard a word since the funeral.
He's safe now, but it was close. Dr. Stephen, you're named co-executor of Catherine's trust. Did you know that?
Co-executor? No one ever contacted me. That's illegal.
He led her to his office and pulled up the trust account. The screen showed a single debit, $800,000.
800,000 already gone. They began stealing the moment the court order was signed.
This is looting, as co-executor. I can file an emergency order, but we need hard evidence of intent.
They bragged about dumping Henry. The shelter manager heard them. That has to count for something.
Stephen scanned the trust's communication log. His co-executor notifications had been disabled weeks ago.
They knew about you. They made sure you'd never be told.
Stephen pulled up his old email archive, messages he had been blind copied as co-executor.
Look at this. It is a thread between Frank and Margaret, dated 3 days after the funeral.
The email read, "We need to get the dog out of the picture before the court hearing. A shelter that euthanizes is best."
They planned it all from the start, even before the ink on the will was dry.
There is more. The judge bought the sob story. Easiest money we ever made.
Emily's hands trembled as she scrolled through the chain. The words were inhuman.
They laughed about it. They actually laughed about destroying an old woman's last wish.
Every cold calculation sat in black and white. The law firm coordination, the shelter drop-off, the celebration.
This is conspiracy to commit fraud. We can take this to the state attorney general.
Then let us do it. Let us end them.
Back in her apartment, Emily dialed Kara at the shelter with a single request.
I'll write it all down. The way they spoke, the lies, everything I witnessed.
Within an hour, a signed statement landed in Emily's inbox. Cold, factual, damning.
They told the front desk to euthanize him like he was garbage. Their signatures are on the form.
I have a forensic accountant tracing the trust outflows. The paper trail doesn't lie.
The accountant's report mapped withdrawals to a shell company registered the day after the court order.
Everything matches. The emails, the statement, the money. We have them.
We do, but the moment we move, they will hit back. Margaret and Frank have a vicious lawyer.
Let them try. Grandma built this trap years ago. We are just springing it.
The evidence packet on her kitchen table now held 33 pages of irrefutable proof. The call came at 10 o'clock. Emily almost let it ring.
Emily, darling, please. I can wire you $500,000 tonight. Just sign a release and walk away.
You dropped Henry off like garbage. A check won't undo that.
When Frank rang, he didn't ask. He demanded.
You have 48 hours to drop this. If you don't, you'll regret ever picking up that dog. I guarantee it.
He actually threatened me, and I got it all on tape.
By noon, their lawyer had filed a motion to quash the email chain as protected communication.
If the judge reads that thread, we're done. Frank, we're done.
The motion sat on the docket like a ticking clock. Everything depended on whether the truth would be allowed to speak.
They're trying to gag their own words, but the truth doesn't need their permission.
The preliminary hearing lasted just under 40 minutes.
I have reviewed the motion to suppress. The emails appear to be internal communications, but I find the co-executor clause suspicious.
The parent's lawyer stepped forward, voice dripping with false indignation.
I am the named co-executor. The trust instrument explicitly grants me oversight. Their attempt to hide this from me is the fraud.
I will not quash the emails today. They remain under seal, pending a full evidentiary hearing in 2 weeks.
The courtroom stilled. Margaret's face drained white.
2 weeks. Enough time to bring the AG into this.
This court will not tolerate games. I expect full cooperation from all parties.
As the gavel fell, Frank muttered something under his breath, but Margaret grabbed his arm.
The real fight starts now.
That evening, Dr. Stephen encrypted the entire case file, emails, bank records, the shelter statement into one final package.
This goes to the Elder Financial Abuse Division. It is a textbook case.
Once it is in their hands, there is no pulling back. They will have to move.
The email that would dismantle 2 lives left his outbox at 11:43 p.m. By 9 the next morning, a state investigator called. The words were short and irreversible. We are opening a formal criminal investigation. Preserve all original communications.
Criminal, not civil. They could face actual prison time.
Within hours, the Attorney General's office sent a formal letter to Judge Marlene urging her to reconsider the evidence.
I nearly let a fraud go unchallenged. The co-executor clause changes everything.
The judge knows. The state knows. Now it is just about holding the line.
At 7 a.m., 2 state investigators stood on the parents' doorstep, badges out, voices flat.
This is a private home. We have rights.
The lead investigator handed over the freeze order and the criminal referral. Margaret's legs gave out.
This is insane. You cannot freeze everything. We will fight this all the way to the state Supreme Court.
The investigators left. The silence afterward was heavier than the shouting. Frank grabbed the landline. His thumb hovered, then pressed Emily's number for the final time.
Emily, please. I know we messed up. You can have all of it, every cent. Just tell them it was a misunderstanding.
You had your chance. I'm not your escape route.
She tapped the screen to end the call, then blocked both numbers with a single swipe.
The hearing is in 3 days. No more distractions.
She spent the next day in restless preparation, Henry's head heavy on her knee. That evening, she drove to the cemetery with a small bunch of daisies, the same kind Catherine used to grow.
I'll make this right, Grandma. I'll protect Henry like you protected me. They won't get away with it.
Dr. Stephen met her at the clinic the next morning, a thick binder of cross-examination notes under his arm.
Their lawyer will call you a greedy opportunist. He'll twist every word you've ever said. Are you sure you won't hire counsel?
I'm not hiding behind a lawyer. I want them to see my face when I tell the truth. That matters more than any argument.
Then keep your answers short. Let the emails do the heavy lifting. We only need the judge to read them.
He handed her a spare folder with the email chain printed out, every cruel line highlighted.
I'll read their own words back to them. Then the world can decide who the monsters really are.
She returned home to Henry waiting at the door, and she knelt to press her forehead to his. The hearing was tomorrow. The courtroom felt colder than Emily had imagined. She walked to the stand without a lawyer beside her.
Please state your name and relationship to the decedent.
Emily. Catherine was my grandmother, and I was the only one who visited her in her final years. She set up the trust for Henry because she knew no one else would care for him. It was her dying wish.
The cross-examination began, sharp, personal, designed to unravel her.
No, I didn't want the money for myself. I wanted my grandmother's wishes honored. That's not greed. I also have a recording of Frank threatening me. I'd like to submit it.
The digital file crackled through the courtroom, Frank's voice unmistakable.
And this is the surrender form. My parents signed it. They labeled him a stray and wrote euthanize if necessary.
The judge's expression shifted. For the first time, Margaret looked away. Dr. Stephen was sworn in next, his hand steady as he took the witness box.
I was appointed co-executor of Catherine's trust. No one ever notified me of the hearing that dissolved it.
He motioned toward the screen, and the email chain lit up. Margaret and Frank's words, raw and undeniable.
Objection. That's privileged.
Judge Marlene read line after line, her shoulders tightening. The phrase, "get the dog out of the picture," hung in the air.
I have the full metadata. These emails were sent between them 3 days after Catherine's burial.
Frank whispered too loudly, "This is impossible." A juror in the gallery gasped.
This is evidence of a calculated conspiracy. I see no need to seal it further.
She set her glasses on the bench. The room stilled.
This court will take a 15-minute recess to review these exhibits.
At 4:37, Judge Marlene walked back to the bench with a stack of exhibits in her hand.
I am vacating the previous order in its entirety. The trust is hereby fully reinstated. Emily is appointed sole trustee, effective immediately. The redirected 1.9 million shall be returned within 48 hours.
Margaret's wail cut through the stillness, but Frank only stared as if the words hadn't registered.
This matter is referred to the State Attorney General for criminal prosecution of fraud upon an estate.
It's over. Henry is safe. Grandma's wish stands.
She gripped Henry's leash so hard her knuckles whitened, and then the tears came. Outside the courtroom, Dr. Stephen was waiting. She hugged him without a word.
We did it, Henry. We did it.
Inside, the bailiff motioned for Margaret and Frank to rise. Their lawyer closed his briefcase in silence. 7 days after the verdict, Emily stood in the chilled hush of a bank vault, her breath shallow. Her lawyer had called that morning with an odd clause, a sealed letter waiting, to be opened only once Henry was confirmed safe. The manager slid the long metal box from its slot and placed it on the cold table. From the box, he lifted a thick packet of bearer bonds and extended them toward Emily.
Bearer bonds. $300,000. She planned this years ago.
Beneath the bonds lay a cream envelope, Catherine's handwriting faint on the front.
She wanted me to find this only after I saved Henry. She knew.
She slid the bonds into her bag, but the letter she held as if it might dissolve.
What did you leave for me, Grandma?
The vault door groaned shut behind her, sealing the silence of Catherine's last gift. Emily found a quiet bench in the bank lobby, her fingers unsteady as she slid the envelope open. The letter began in Catherine's elegant script. My dearest Emily, if you're reading this, then you've kept Henry safe, and I can rest. I knew my children would covet the money. They never understood love without a price tag. That's why I named Dr. Stephen co-executor. You were the only one who visited me without asking for anything. Your heart is your inheritance. The bearer bonds are yours, no strings. Use them however you wish. You've more than earned it. Promise me you'll take care of our boy. He'll need you. You were always my real family. All my love, Catherine. Emily pressed the letter to her chest, her shoulders shaking.
She knew all along. She trusted me completely.
A small silver locket slipped from the envelope into her hand. Inside, twin photos, a young girl with her grandmother and a golden puppy. Emily wept. The criminal case resolved in a single morning. Margaret and Frank stood before Judge Marlene, arrogance erased.
You defrauded an estate, endangered a helpless animal, and tried to silence your own daughter. This court does not tolerate greed dressed as family.
They entered guilty pleas to fraud against an estate and animal neglect.
2 years supervised probation, a $200,000 fine, and a public apology in every newspaper you once advertised in.
The fine was steep, but the public reckoning stung harder. By nightfall, the story had hit national feeds with a headline that said it all: Vet's email exposes greedy hares. The article quoted the email chain, the shelter statement, and Emily's calm words on the stand. A week later, a realtor's sign appeared in the yard of their once pristine home. The neighbors watched moving trucks with whispers. The name Margaret and Frank had become local poison. The house sold at a loss. All that remained of their reputation was a headline and a court-ordered apology. On a bright Monday, Emily walked into the same shelter that had almost lost Henry.
Kara, this is for you. I'm starting Catherine's fund. Money set aside for pets with trusts who need someone to fight for them.
Emily, this is incredible. No one's ever done something like this for us.
The fund would cover legal fees and care for animals caught in the same trap Henry nearly didn't survive. That evening, she and Henry walked the cemetery path, the air soft with late summer.
We kept our promise, Grandma. He's safe and happy, and I'll never let anyone hurt him again.
She laid fresh daisies on the stone, just as she had weeks ago, this time knowing the fight was truly over. They walked the tree-lined lanes near the apartment, golden light filtering through the leaves. Inside, Henry curled on his soft bed, and Emily sat reading, Catherine's framed photo watching from the shelf.
She built this piece for us. I'll guard it with everything I have.
Weeks later, an ordinary Tuesday morning found Emily in her kitchen, the silver locket warm against her skin.
She wore it every day now, a reminder that Catherine had known exactly who her real family was.
Henry ambled over, his gray muzzle pressing against her knee, tail wagging in that slow, content rhythm.
He's 11 now, but the vet says he's healthier than ever. The trust pays for every vitamin, every checkup, exactly as Grandma planned.
The Catherine's Fund had quietly helped 2 other animals already, dogs caught in the same machinery that nearly crushed Henry. The fund was a quiet machine now, run by Kara and the board, far from the noise of the courtroom. Margaret and Frank's apology letter had run in the local paper, small and buried, but it was there, as ordered. Emily didn't read it. She had said everything that needed saying in that courtroom.
Some people spend their lives building walls. Catherine built a bridge backward through time, and I'm standing on it.
Henry sighed, stretched, and laid his head back on her lap. The trust remained whole, the dog was safe, and the love of an old woman outlasted every scheme designed to break it. A year later, on a morning thick with the scent of autumn leaves, Emily unclipped Henry's leash at the entrance to the dog park. He still moved slowly, but his tail never stopped wagging, a golden blur against the fallen leaves.
Sometimes I think he dreams about Grandma. He'll press his nose into the air and look toward the door, waiting.
She had taken to leaving Catherine's photo on the entry table, where Henry could see it from his bed.
I still talk to her. Every time a daisy blooms in the window box, every time Henry curls into that exact spot by the sofa.
The locket never left her neck. Sometimes she opened it before sleep, the tiny photos worn softer by her thumb. Dr. Stevens still visited twice a month, now more friend than vet, and they would sit on the porch while Henry dozed.
He told me once that Catherine added the co-executor clause the same week she found out about her illness. She knew exactly what was coming.
In the end, it was not the money that saved Henry. It was the love of a woman who refused to let her family's selfishness outlive her. Emily stroked Henry's soft ears, watching the autumn light fade through the window. Some gifts are measured in the peace of a sleeping dog who never once doubted he was safe.